So, as everybody knows, we have hotels full of illegal migrant men scattered across the UK. We've been told that there's absolutely nothing to worry about.
Today, I can assure you we've had asylum seekers in Trafford for several years, and there has been no spike in crime, there has been no increase in crime that's attributed to these asylum seekers.
Well, I don't really believe that, and I don't think you believe it either. The Sun ran an article alleging a rape spree cover-up at several migrant hotels, and there's this leaked phone call from a concerned member of the public in Northampton saying that asylum seekers have been bothering local schoolgirls.
Yeah, are you guys aware that the asylum seekers that you guys have got in the hotel are down by the school taking photographs?
Are they doing it right now?
They're not right now, but they were about 9 o'clock this morning.
Our phone's been going crazy all morning. I've been getting a lot of phone calls.
Oh, bless you.
I'm aware of what's going on.
When I drove by this morning, it seemed like it was all just men in the hotel. Is there actually any women and children, or is it just men?
No, there isn't any women and children.
Yeah. There was also the case of the Afghan asylum seeker who raped a 15-year-old schoolgirl and didn't think he'd done anything wrong because in his country, child marriage is fine. Well, today it's been revealed that despite there being absolutely nothing to worry about, everybody, nothing to worry about, asylum seekers are being given lessons in how to essentially not sexually assault women. So here are some slides from those PowerPoint presentations, and I believe we can show them to you now. There we go. So there we are. Respect other people's rights and freedoms. Human rights. Nice. Here's the important one, though. Females have the same rights as men. They must be treated with respect and courtesy. If you harass or abuse any female, you can be arrested. Not will be. Can be. They also say that certain swear words are bad, so that's nice. In the immortal words of Chris Whitty, next slide, please. And we'll bring that up. So if you commit a crime, you will be arrested, which may affect your asylum claim. Again, may affect. I mean, the fact is it probably won't, because do you remember Abdullah Zidi, the Clapham acid attacker? He'd committed crimes here before he doused a woman and child in acid, but he was granted asylum anyway. Anyway, violence of any kind is not acceptable. Oh, and respect nature. There we go. It's a criminal offence to neglect an animal or treat it in a cruel way. So let me just give a big special shout out now to the swans of Britain, who have taken an absolute pelting from various migrant communities over the years.
I'm going to get someone to check what bird this is. I think it might be a swan. I'm not sure. But do you know what a swan is, sir? You know the big white birds that you see on the park? Yeah. You see the bones in this bird? Yeah. Because it's not a chicken, I'm a bit concerned. There's a law against people taking animals off. You told them that, yes. There's a hell of a lot of big white feathers in here. Yeah. I know, and problem is, could be anything from goose to swan.
Respect nature. There we go. OK, next slide, please. And it says, be aware that taking photos and videos of any people without their permission can cause great offence. OK, now, look, ask yourselves this, all right? Why would authorities be doing this at asylum hotels if there really was nothing to worry about? It's almost like some people in these hotels are actually a massive threat to women and girls, isn't it? Right, let's get the views of my panel this evening. We have former Vice Chair of the Conservative Party, Jonathan Gullis, the Express's very own Sam Lister, and journalist Jonathan Liss. First, Jonathan, I'll go to you. Welcome back, by the way. Tremendous to have you. Yeah, I mean, so where are you on the fact that now these asylum seekers are apparently getting lessons in how to not sexually assault women?
Well, it just goes to prove the point time and again that we have people from the third world with their third world medieval mentality being imported into this country into the hundreds of thousands, to the point now where women and girls on our streets are in danger. And Baroness Casey, in her own review recently around grooming gangs, says that there is a serious amount of asylum seekers, illegal migrants, let's be honest, being currently investigated for being involved in these child rape gangs. It's why we need to not have people held in hotels where they're freely able to go in and out without having to be deterred. They need to be detained in secure facilities and deported as soon as possible. Something the Conservatives, which I was part of, failed on, and something sadly this Labour government is currently failing on too.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, OK, the argument might be that, well, it's a good thing that they're getting some lessons, I suppose, but the bigger picture here, I would suspect, is that, have we been lied to about the potential dangers and what's really going on?
Well, I think it plays into that sense in the country that we are being played for mugs. We are being taken for a ride. And I think it actually makes my blood boil, to be honest, Patrick. I think the way women are being treated is appalling. The Afghanistan rape case you mentioned, the rape of the 15-year-old girl, in court, the defence was that he had language differences and cultural differences. Cultural differences are whether you shake hands or hug when you first meet, whether you make sure you buy a round in the pub. You know, it is not about whether it's right or wrong to rape a 15-year-old girl. That is not a cultural difference. You know, that's the law of this land and people should be obeying it. If we went to another country, we would respect that culture, the laws of that land. And I just think it's absolutely astonishing that we have police doing PowerPoint presentations on cultural differences. The school mentioned in the Northamptonshire case, it was a primary school.
Yep.
A primary school. These are not cultural differences. This is the systematic abuse and degradation of women and girls.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge security risk for women and girls, this, isn't it, Jonathan?
Is it? I don't know. I think that you'll find that the majority of people who commit crimes against women and girls are not, in fact, asylum seekers, and they're not from the quote-unquote third world, Jonathan. They're actually homegrown. The idea that rape is a third world value that no white British person could ever possibly commit is just the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard in my life. There are people who are bad people who are asylum seekers. There are people who've grown up their entire lives, have Anglo-Saxon blood coursing through their veins, who are also bad people.
How many Brits are hanging around schools?
Well, look, plenty of them are actually, Sam, plenty of them. And look, and by the way, this cultural defence thing, look, I did my, well, yes, lots actually. Look, I did my master's, in my master's degree, I wrote one of my essays on this idea of the cultural defence. And this is about 15 years ago. And, you know, people have been saying for years, oh, my culture made me do it. And it was absolute nonsense then, it's absolute nonsense now. Of course, your culture, doesn't make you commit crimes. Yes, and of course, it's a defence, Patrick. It's defence from a criminal who's obviously desperate to save his skin. So we'll just ignore it. So he'll impugn his own culture in order to make that defence.
Oh, I see.
People have been doing that from time immemorial, saying, my culture made me do a bad thing.
Right, okay.
It's not a culture that makes people do bad things. It's the people that do bad things.
Okay.
You know, just if I did something wrong, it wouldn't be my culture that made me do it. It would be because I did it. And the same is exactly the same with them. Okay. There's no reason why they should represent their culture any more than we should represent ours.
Right, okay. Do you agree with that?
Well, I find it quite bizarre, Jonathan's sort of accusations, when actually we know that a quarter of all convictions currently in this country are from foreign nationals when it comes to sexual offences. So that is massively overrepresenting the foreign national population in this country. We know that Afghans and Eritreans are 20 times more likely to be involved in sexual offences than British people as well. So the data doesn't lie. The fact that government's been useless, both under Conservatives and Labour now, in actually producing and having and holding data, which again, Baroness Casey is astonished about, to see how little data around ethnicity has been reported. But where she did find that 3 police forces that did hold significant data, she made the point very clear there was a serious issue with those of Pakistani origin when it came to the rape of white British girls in this country. Is a fact that we can't ignore, and if we dismiss it without actually having the reality check, Baroness Casey is correct in saying this will continue to be the worst cover-up in British history.
Well, that was obviously related to the grooming gangs, not related to the overall crime of paedophilia and child sexual abuse, the vast majority of which is perpetrated by white people. But, you know, when a white person commits a crime, we don't wring our hands and say, what's wrong with white culture? When, you know, we had the paedophilia crisis in the Catholic Church, we didn't have a national conversation about whether there was something wrong with Catholicism.
The government is talking about having chemical castration for paedophiles, which, by the way, let's do it. But actually, more importantly, paedophiles, wherever race they should be locked up indefinitely, because they can never be fixed, never be saved. They are a danger to the public. I never want them to see the light of day. I would love to see them actually deported, whether they're British or not, to some foreign land and let some foreign country deal with them under their foreign jurisdiction, because we don't want those child predators in our country.
So we hear a lot about, you know, oh, it's really important that we protect women and girls and all of this stuff, and obviously it is, but then actions speak louder than words, don't they? And it does appear to me as though we're not making really many attempts to do that. And I think, like, it's certainly in the case of in Altrincham in Greater Manchester, dumping 300 men from the Middle East and Africa into that particular town there, you know, can pose a threat to the women and girls, can't it?
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's just paying lip service to protecting women and girls, isn't it, if you don't actually address the issues. And I think I understand what you're saying, Jonathan, but as Jonathan Gullis mentioned, the figures are clear. A quarter of offenders are not non-Brits.
Does that mean people who are born here?
Point. You've had a good chance to speak. The fact that Northamptonshire Police feel the need to do PowerPoint presentations, they're not doing that for the good of the health. They obviously see there is an issue there. They are being told there is an issue there. So you can't just dismiss it. And it's the dismissal of these issues that allows them to fester and grow. And it's causing real anger out in the country.
Look, I don't know why the police have drawn up each and every one of those bullet points. I'm sure some of them are backed up.
Do you not think
by
the answer's
behaviour.
obvious?
No. I think it's.
I think
it's
that's a really
completely.
obvious answer.
You'd have to ask the police.
They're not doing it for the good of their health.
No. Of course. Obviously, when it's just normal practice, and it should be best practice that when you have people coming here from different countries, they should be sort of given sort of lessons about British culture, because it is obviously going to be different from a lot of their own cultures.
You shouldn't have to be told not to rape.
It doesn't. Well, that is not. But
or hang around
look,
schools.
as I just said, there are some things that are going to be valid cultural differences.
That is not a valid cultural difference.
If you just let me finish, and there are other things, such as rape, which I just said a moment ago, is not in anyone's culture. That is something that people do, and they use their culture as a defence. It's nonsense.
I'm sorry, but it kind of is. Look at what's happening in Afghanistan. Look at what's happened in Afghanistan.
You're not allowed to rape anyone in Afghanistan either.
Oh, my gosh, OK.
No, you're not, actually.
Right, OK, well, the treatment of women in Afghanistan is not exactly... not exactly tip-top,
but rape isn't part of the
child
culture.
marriage is OK. Child marriage is OK, and that's the point, isn't it?
Look,
so yes, it is.
Look, I mean, obviously, the marriage rules are different in Afghanistan
in
the way that, you know, it used to be the case here until a few decades ago that sort of people could get married sort of very, very young. I'm not saying it's a good thing. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily part of the culture.
OK,
you can say paedophilia was part of British culture until a few decades ago as well.
Quickly, Jonathan, then we'll have to move on.
I don't know how to respond.
I mean, look, people used to get married very, very young in Britain as well.
Right. Yeah, well, if you want to talk about medieval Britain...
No, not medieval Britain. Talk about the 19th century Britain.
We're talking about royalty marrying those days, then fine. But we're talking about medieval cultures being important in this country. People with a backwards view on women, a backwards view on how children work, a backwards view on how society in Britain should work, who don't respect human rights, who don't respect rules. They are a danger and a threat to everyone on our streets. And these people deported as soon as possible.
OK. All right. Well, there we go. Obviously, everyone at home can get their comments coming in on your say. A lively start. Thank you very much.